Hey, welcome to the alignment session of today's little online workshop. My goal with this workshop is that we kind of go from the palm all the way up to the feet of our handstand to understand like the little puzzle pieces that we have in our body to align ourselves into a straight handstand. And we will start with the wrists. So if you look at your own wrists or on your own hands, you have this big inner platform that I call the inner circle of the hand that will give you a lot of feedback if you're standing more in the heel of the hand, meaning you're in an underbalance in your handstand, or more in the front, which leans towards overbalance, or if you're standing all the way in the fingers, where it's almost about to fall out. So let's just try to feel that in a tabletop position where you place your hands comfortably down. And as you lean the shoulders forward, you should feel the pressure increasing in the front of your hand. When you lean the shoulders back, you should feel more weight in the back of your hand. And just do a few leaning forward and back without weight. So that inner circle of our hand always gives us feedback where our balance is. And you do that all the time on your feet as well. And our feet, it would be like the middle of the foot, right? Where we're constantly getting a reference where the rest of our body is in space. Another detail that I want to share with you for the wrists is that we have different rotations. What you want to avoid is having that internal rotation, meaning your fingers are like rotating in and causing a rotation inward in the shoulders. So we either want to have the pointer finger forward or the middle finger forward, depends a bit what feels more comfortable for you. And with that said, just try which one feels better for you. If you have alignment that feels better with the pointer finger or the middle finger forward. And for some people with very tight shoulders, it might be even a little bit more out, because then we can open the shoulders more, but we'll talk more about that later. I also want you to find a comfortable width between your fingers. So the space between your fingers, it can be overstretched. If you go as wide as possible, there's a lot of tension in your wrist. And if you bring the hands all the way together, it's harder to balance on that inner circle. I want to find something in between that's comfortable so that you can feel your whole hand, but not creating so much tension that you get almost like a cramp in between your hands. So let's try to find that nice and comfortable position and find a plank pose from here. From your plank pose, you walk towards your hands and back a couple times, keeping that nice connection to the ground. If the hands already feel uncomfortable, it would be very hard for your body to get comfortable in a handstand. And that looks really good. And you can just sit back either in a squat or also, if the squat is not so comfortable, feel free to just sit down on the ground and roll out your wrists to loosen up the wrists again. Do one more wrist exercise to go a bit more towards strength building, but also to dissect the different parts, meaning the inner circle that I was talking about, the outer circle is including the fingertips. And we mostly need the inner circle, but sometimes we need the outer circle when, for example, you fall out a bit and you kind of push yourself back. You can also use the outer circle. So I'm going to come so close that you can see my hands. You find the position that you decided feels good. Now we want to push into the knuckles to lift the heel of the hand. And then we want to come from here onto the fingertips. Then we want to come back to the knuckles and back to the full palm. Let's do three of those, lifting the heel onto the fingertips, back to the knuckles, all the way down. Just one more. Knuckles, fingertips, knuckles, full palm. Nice. Can shake it out. A more complex thing is the elbow, and we all have very different elbows. And we have different angles. My angle, for example, is quite steep. It's called a carrier angle. Has nothing to do with hyperextension. If you would have an hyperextension, it would come out here. You could kind of overstretch your elbow. And then there's people who have very, very straight arms. And it doesn't matter which ones you have, you just focus on. There's also an internal and external rotation of the elbow. So when the elbow goes out, you also bend a bit. When you go to the inside, you stretch it out more. This exercise is a lot easier if you have the fingertips on the ground. If they're in the air, it's a lot harder to only rotate the elbows but not the shoulder. So let's keep the fingertips down for this, just to loosen it up. Now in our tabletop, it becomes a bit more complex as we externally rotate the elbows out to the side. You see how my arms are bending, but there's also a lot more pressure on the outside of my wrist, which we don't want if we want to avoid wrist pain. If I push too much on the inside towards hyperextension, I get a lot of pressure on the inside, and the inside of my hand also lifts up. So what I think um, is the most sustainable for our body is actually facing the inside of the elbows, the elbow pit, towards one another, which creates a nice sandwich for the elbow joint. And by engaging the triceps and feeling the support on the other side with the biceps. If I'm here, the triceps is overactive, the biceps completely loose. If I go the other way, the triceps is quite loose and the biceps has to hold a lot. So find the in between. Then again, come from here into your plank position. See if you can maintain that good position as you walk forward into your kick up starting position, lifting one leg, lifting the other leg, and walking it back to the plank. These things are nice to train separately because in a handstand, it's hard to do all of them, right? Because when we learn something, we don't have so much time to do all at once. So feel free to come back to these exercises later when you practice more. The shoulders are kind of our hips in our handstands because they carry most of the weight. If the shoulder is in a not good position, our wrist usually gets pain or our elbows. So we want to make sure they're in a good position. As you bring the arms forward, you want to create a wrap in the shoulder, meaning the shoulders kind of roll down the back, the collarbone space opens, and you see how all the little muscles around the back of the shoulders start engaging. And then I can lift overhead. And because the weight of my body is going to push down, my shoulders will be in one line with the rest of the body. Nice. Let's try what you hear most people say. Push a lot, and then you will see the shoulders are actually not going overhead because we already used too much of the front of the shoulder, and the range of motion of the shoulder can't access the full range of motion. And the front of the shoulder has to do a lot more in comparison to the back, but the back is a lot stronger. So we can push after we went for the full range of motion. Let's try it one more time with wrapping the shoulder, feeling the back of the shoulder, lifting the arm up, and finding that nice extension here. We'll try it laying on the belly, and you want to make this a bit harder, you can take a water bottle or a block in the hand. to try that exact same thing lying down. If you do have a block, you want to have the fingertips on the side and the thumbs in the front. The neck nice and long. You want to wrap the shoulder blades down the back and using the back of the shoulder to lift the arms in one line with the rest of your body. And release. Try it one more time. Wrap the shoulders down and back. Lift the arms up. Very nice. So we continue to the part of the ribs. And you can also use your block if you have limited flexibility to feel the range of motion a bit more. So if the arms are up and the ribs go forward, the ribs are out, or here we're too round. You can just try a few, going too much out and too much back to feel the difference. And our bodies are so smart that they always align depending when the ribs are out, the rest of the body compensates to still be in balance. And that will happen in your handstand as well. So that's why that centerpiece from the ribs and the core, the middle part of our body, is so essential for the rest of the body to find its place. And we will try two exercises lying down. The first one is with the legs bent. You can bring the arms overhead. We will just use our breath to breathe the back of the ribs into the ground. What you want to avoid is bringing the arms up and crunching the six pack. Is the deep core, that kind of the navel goes into the spine and the back of the ribs with the diaphragm breathe into the back of the mat. It's a lot less than you think. You can take a big inhale and usually the ribs, everything come out. You might arch a little bit and then use your exhale to bring the navel in, the back ribs into the floor. One more time, inhale. Get long, arch, ribs out. And exhale, navel into the spine, ribs back. Yes. One level higher, also a little harder in that shoulder bridge. I'm just going to show it with the arms up so you see better what the ribs are doing, but we'll do it in a second with the arms down. The hardest part is keeping the hips up, not dropping as we try to engage the ribs. So I squeeze my butt in the back of the hamstring, and I'm going to just breathe the ribs back to let them fall towards the back. And you can do this very nicely with the arms on the side and get kind of like a feeling of pushing a weight to the front that will help you to get the ribs back and really avoid the hips from collapsing down. 3 breaths is enough. And then we bring it down, windshield wipe the legs from right to left. And hold behind your legs. And get yourself all the way up. We'll try the pieces that we worked on so far, the wrist, the elbows, the shoulder, and the ribs in a kick-up position. I'm just going to come closer that you can watch these parts. I will find my setup with the hands. I will lift my leg. I'm going to wrap the shoulders down. And then as I come onto my toes, I'm going to try with the knee going in to kind of find with my exhale this rib position that you worked on. And you can do this with a straight leg or bent leg. It doesn't really matter. But I want you to use your exhale to find the pieces we worked on so far. Let's try to do 2 to 3 breaths on each side. Having a really nice starting position. You can come a tiny bit more forward. Really nice correction, Daria. That's perfect, Nadine. It's very tempting as we lift the leg up to lean forward with the shoulders, but we want to keep them nicely in place and really work from the center of the body to um, also as we bring the shoulders instead of forward, we want to squeeze everything up, like the hips want to rise to the ceiling and everything becomes more narrow. If someone would stand in the front and back, they would kind of sandwich you from the front and back, and everything goes up towards the ceiling. Let's try just one more time on each leg. Nice. That looks great. With that position that you had now, we can start doing a few kick ups, and I will show you a few different versions, but we want to have that nice starting position with the shoulders, the arms, the elbows. What you want to avoid is as you start to already close the chest and the neck and everything, because then if I jump, I have no chance to go up. So the shoulders are relaxed but stacked. I'm going to use the power of the bottom leg to then find the extension and come back down. You could totally do this with being like one palm distance away from the wall, just focusing on this piece and coming back down. If you do touch the heel to the wall, that's fine. But see if on the way down you can use the exhale to roll through your spine and not move so much forward with your shoulders. And don't worry if you get all the way up, really focus on the same pieces that you had in the starting position. Beautiful shape, Daria. Yes, nice. Looks really good. Find that inner circle before you even kick up. Nice. It looks good. I know it's a lot of focus to have all the pieces in place. Create the power from the bottom leg and let the top leg arrive. Nice. That's it, Nadine. Yeah. I always encourage you to also do a couple on the other side, to just even it out, but also sometimes the side that we trust less is actually working a lot more precise, and you might surprise yourself how good it actually is. Nice. I think that's one thing I see the most in my classes, that that starting position is not really clear, and then your body is confused where to balance. Now, you both do a very good job at taking that extra moment before you set up and kick up to set yourself up for success. Right, a tiny bit more forward, Nadine. Yeah, good. Yes, that's it. Perfect. It's basically telling your body where you want to end up in your balance before you even jump up. That looks great. Yeah, nice. Really good. Really nice. Take a little break also, or have a sip of water. Feel free to try a few more, either on the other side, if you haven't done it yet. Looking really good. It's nice. I want to work on a little detail that is focusing on the hip. And in the hip, if you just stand, right, we have a position where it's over opened, like the front of the hip feels very long if you take the point underneath the ribs and the thighs. This is a very stretched out band. If we're too piked, the band between your hip and rib is very close. So that would be a handstand that's either too open or too close. So the hip actually wants to be in a quite neutral position to be stacked in one line with your arms. And that's not so easy to find because the legs, when they have a lot of tension, they also pull the hips quite easy in a direction. So even if you're standing and you have very tight straight leg and you start swinging it, the hip will always go with you. If the leg, the right leg, is quite loose, the hip can actually stay in place in one line with your shoulder the whole time. That's to just even it out. Also try it on the other side. With a really over-engaged leg, it pulls on your whole body. And with a loose leg, the hip can stay in place and you can still swing the leg. So yes, we do want to, in most shapes, have an engagement in the leg, but not an over engagement, right? Let's try it in a seated position. So my leg can be straight, or it can be so tight that it kind of has so much tension in the thigh and the leg that even if I have that engagement here, the heel of my foot is lifting off. But I want to find a tension that allows me to still move and be in the foundation of my handstand. Where you can feel this the most is when you lift one leg up. If I have a lot of tension in the front of my leg, I will get a cramp really fast. But if I think of pulling the leg into the hip and having more relaxation in the front of the hip, I can use my deep core to lift the leg up. It's still a lot harder to do that seated than in your handstand, but we will try it laying down as well. If you're laying down, and you tense the front of your quad and then try to pull your leg close. It's a lot harder. But if you relax the front of your quad and you can kind of jiggle it a bit, I can pull my leg a lot closer to my body, and my bottom leg and my hip can still stay on the ground. Try on the other side. A really strong leg. Try to get it close to the body, and then have something in between where the leg is still straight, but the front of the thigh relaxed, and see how your leg can come a lot closer. I will show you how that looks on your hands and then give you different exercises to try also with the wall. I want you to see the difference. If I'm kicking up and having a lot of tension in my leg, I'm kind of high. If something moves in my legs, I'm also pulling my spine immediately because there's so much tension that my spine has to go with me. If I find a kick up position and relax the front of the leg, and even if my legs would move, it doesn't impact the rest of my body so much. Because there's enough tension that I can access all my body, but not so much tension that if the wind blows, it blows me over. A good way to try this is I'm gonna just move you to the door so you can see it with the back to the wall. I want to have at least 2 palms distance away from the wall. So when I kick up, I can really work on relaxing that front leg. And then because I'm relaxing the front leg, my handstand wants to be in balance without me trying to get off the wall just by dropping the front leg. I can find the balance that feels a lot more relaxed and with less tension. So let's try to do that one time on each side. Of course, you can also do it without the wall if you feel very comfortable. The back leg stays, yeah, that's it. Nice. That allows you to sink more into the palm, and then your body can balance better. Really nice. Yeah, good. Think you can both take a little bit more space away from the wall. So you just have more space to feel that. Yeah, use the wall to set up, bring your shoulders in a good position, and then just let the front of the thigh relax. Really nice. Very good. Nice. Take some more tension out of that front leg. Yes. It will be a lot less scary to keep the hips further back. If we hold the tension and then someone says you have to move more to the back, it feels more scary to kind of fall over to the back. But if we have the relaxation in the front leg, our body is happier to stay more in the back of the body. Try on your other leg if you haven't tried it yet. That looks nice. That really, yeah, use the front leg to find the balance, not the back leg. The back leg wants to stay back. Yes, nice. Very nice. Always take a little break if you need. Nice. Can't hear you. I don't know why. Oh, no, it's a bit better. Say again. I can't hear you. I don't know why. Maybe you're connected to some bigger speaker or something. It just sounds like you're very far away, even though you're close to your.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Now it's
I
there.
said that I'm really sad that I cannot stay till the end of the class. I need to leave.
Yeah, no
It
worries.
was very great, and thank you so much for doing it.
You're
Um,
welcome. I will record the rest of the class. I can send it
awesome.
to you.
Awesome. Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Enjoy. Bye. Okay, we will continue to work a bit more on that hip piece, and we'll do a little drill laying down on your back. And if you have a block or black roll something, it's nice to put it under your sacrum. I'm just gonna move the screen down. So if we have the knee bend and we just use our hands to pull our leg close, we want to get our knee to a point where the lower leg is just floating up. So if the space between the leg and the rib is quite big, our back heel is down. If we pull a lot, it's too piked, right? But we want to find that neutral place where the hip can be in one line with the shoulder, and the front thigh and the bent leg is quite relaxed. And we try the same on the other side. We need to find that neutral hip that will align the hip on top of the shoulder on your hands. Now we will try that shape, either belly to wall or back to the wall. I will show you both, just because depending on your space, you're more comfortable with either or. If we do the back to the wall that we just did, we also want two palms distance away. We use the wall to kick up. We find our front leg in the bent variation, and then we're trying to use the relaxation of the front leg again to find our balance. You really want to avoid pushing from the back leg because you will just push yourself off. You can do the same with the belly to the wall. You can climb up. Find your one leg already in your straight balance, then relaxing the front leg, using your exhale to get there. If you feel like you have the inner circle of the hand, you can just bring the heel towards the hip and come back. You spend as much time in your balance as you feel like you can still come safely down. And I always want you to focus on the quality of your movement. And later on, you can increase the volume by staying up longer. So choose either back to wall or belly to wall. Bring the shoulders in a nice place, really nice. That looks great. Find the front leg more than the back leg. Yeah, nice. That looks good. I feel like with the bent leg, it's a lot more intuitive to find the ribs. That looks good. Nice. Bring the heel a bit more towards the hip, the front heel. Yeah, good. That's it. Nice. See, especially before you lift off the leg, if you can use your exhale to connect to the ribs. That looks great. Yes. Nice. Really good alignment. Very nice. Take a little break. I feel like the belly to the wall is always a bit more exhausting mentally. That's good to have a little breather between.
I never have my full circle on the ground. It's always just the ball.
The heel of the hand.
Yeah, just the heel and the fingertips. And I can't bring the rest of my hand to the
Yeah,
ground.
it's often it's a weird concept, but it's often because you're holding on to the floor too much. So that's why this like breathing and sinking in is so nice. Because the more we find that sinking in feeling, the more, when you stand comfortable on your feet or when you're trying to, I don't know, walk on your toes around, that's kind of what we do on our hands often, that we hold on to the floor so much that this part cannot connect. So maybe make that the focus in the next attempt, that you just find that comfortable position for your hands. And before you try to do too much, just sink into your hands. And the rest of your body is in a good position already. And with the belly to the wall, I feel like you can focus on that also better, like sinking into the palm of the hand, making this the goal instead of lifting the leg off. Yeah. Let the shoulders kind of sink down, all the gravity going down into the hand. Nice, that looks better. I think when we learn handstands, we learn so much to push, but there's also an element of like over pushing and overworking. And we still want to be able to have that grounding feeling on our hands. Was that a bit better? A little bit. It's really more a mental thing that you can do a lot with the drills belly to wall or also in a plank pose. I think in a plank pose you probably don't do it because it's less weight and we're less overthinking it. In a plank pose, you would never like hold on to the floor so much because you've done it 1,000 times and you just give your weight straight down, right? You can bring your weight in the full palm. But as soon as we go upside down, we think we have to work extra hard. But the floor will not run away, and your body is able to balance a lot better with like a kind of open, soft hand. Like sometimes, we have to balance and do a little bit more, but it should never be so much that you feel like you're just tensing the floor so much that it's harder to hold. You might surprise yourself that you can balance a lot better, inviting that softness, and it might just take a bit of time to get there. I wanna do or go back to the kick ups that we've done, and you're still welcome to do that with the back to the wall. But I want to use that nice kick up position that we had with the shoulders, the elbows, the head relaxed. And we want to kick up, try to find straight legs and switch the legs in the air. If it's not comfortable to kick up all the way, it can be also just switching the legs in the air, but trying to land soft. And the goal is that you don't get further away from your shoulders, right? When we kick up, we land further back. We want to sink into that inner circle of the hand the whole way up and also the whole way down. If you imagine you have like a magnet here, it always wants to stay in the same spot. See if that makes sense when you try switching the legs in the air. Yeah, and now even if you touch the wall, know for next time to use a little less momentum. That was really good on the way down. Connect to that inner circle. Yes, better. I think even with the back to the wall, we can just learn to use it only as a tool if we don't have a spotter, but not overuse it. Yeah, much better. Really nice. Yes, really nice. That's it. Cool. Nice, nice, nice. Great. Nice. Great. Nice. I want to show you one more exercise with the same principle, but belly to wall. It's also doing leg switches with the belly to the wall, but now we basically just take a moment in the air. The hard part is, I think everyone knows how to switch the legs in the air. The hard part is to keep the shoulders, the hips, everything in the same place, even though there is a moment where we're switching the legs. So I would suggest to do it not so far away from the wall because then it's harder to switch the legs. So if we find our position here, and we just switch the legs in the air, so slow that we don't change the rest of our body. If I do it very fast, I probably just collapse either away from the wall or towards the wall. So take time to find a good position for your hands, your elbows, your shoulders, and then just switch and tap the other foot down. After one or two switches, also make sure you have enough energy to come back down, but focus on not changing the foundation. Stay nice and soft in the inner circle of the head. Yes, nice. Really nice. I like that version also a lot better for the alignment. Now we have to keep hips and shoulders and ribs integrated to do that switch. Really nice. Great. Have a little break. We'll do a little stretch that probably all of you know. It's a puppy pose. Do it on the knees. And if you have open shoulders, you can also put your hands on a block. What we're trying to avoid is hanging in the lower back. So I'm going to keep the ribs integrated because we still need that position for handstands. See if you can use your exhale to go to the back of the ribs, but finding a good long line from your fingertips, back of the shoulders, sacrum. And then after you had your couple of breaths, we'll go do a little pike stretch. You can choose also here if you know you need the block underneath the hips. You can do that. If you have very flexible pike, maybe you want to put the block under your heels. And we still want to keep that long, elongated feeling in the ribs, reaching the chest forward. The one where we just round down is not so useful for handstands. So we want to invite the chest forward, the inner thighs connected. You can place your hands wherever it feels good and natural. Take a few deep breaths here. And we come into a half split position. Just want to prepare the back of the legs for the last part today. In our half split, make sure the hip is on top of the knee and create that feeling of the leg kind of pulling into the hip. So that already helps me going into that neutral hip position that we talked about. And the chest going down, not rounding, more thinking of leaning forward with the chest onto your shins, keeping the head in one line with the spine. Breathing into the back of the ribs. You can do all these stretches in many different ways. If we train them specifically for handstands, they also want to include the handstand alignment. Switch to the other side. Find the same cues, bringing the hip on top of the knee, pulling the front leg into the hip as you're leaning over and forward with the chest. And release. The hardest part, but the one that makes you also the strongest, is the conditioning part about handstands, meaning we want to use um, a bit of time, but also more support to strengthen the position. And I'm going to show you two options to do the conditioning exercise today, depending on how you feel in your body. We'll go back towards belly to wall, and one would be, if this would be my wall, to do like an L shape, and then after 15 seconds we switch to the other side, really working that strong line and all the alignment cues we talked about. Or the harder version would be doing both legs at the wall, more like a pike position. So I show you both from the side so you see the difference. So the setup for this is actually also important. You touch the toes in your tabletop to the wall, and then the palms are slightly closer, like my normal tabletop would be here, but I want to be like half a step in, so it's easier to find my alignment. I climb up, and one leg goes up. So you can stay here and really work on finding good alignment, maybe even coming onto the toes. After 30 seconds, you switch and do the same on the side. Or if you feel very strong today, maybe both legs down. Here we really have to avoid the shoulders from going forward. And this position is a lot stronger than one leg up. But starting halfway is always good as well. I will take the time so you don't have to worry about it, and set yourself up. And go up 3, 2, and 1. Really focus on finding your alignment upside down. How does it feel to feel the middle of the hand, the shoulder, the ribs, all the way to the toe? Really nice. 15 seconds are already over. So you can switch to the other leg if you had one leg up. Yeah, connect the inner thighs. Really nice. Take one extra breath. And then slowly bring it back down. This is a really good way to just spend some time and strengthen the shoulders, but also work on your alignment without worrying about kicking up, finding balance, doing all things at once. And if you have no time for like a full hour of handstands, this doesn't take too much time to just repeat on a day where you're already warmed up. We'll stretch out the shoulders a bit more. It's one of my favorite exercises after handstands. The hand will go into the wall with the thumb facing up on the height of the shoulder. And then we turn as much away from your body or like to the front as it feels good. For some people, they have big flexibility in the shoulders. but we want to avoid that the shoulder hikes up. We really want to roll it down. You can just stay here, or you can also look diagonal over to the other side of the room. And bring the head back to neutral and just go up and down a few times by bending the knees slightly and straightening them back out. And we can go sideways as well, but make sure your elbow is still happy. And then release. Maybe your right arm feels a little longer than the left, but we'll even it out. Start your setup with the thumb facing up and then rotate to a point where you feel the stretch. It's a nervy stretch, so you don't want to overdo it. If you move the head diagonal across on the other side, try to do the same here. Collarbones rotating up. Head back to neutral. We slightly bend and extend the legs to move in space. And then flossing from right to left. It feels good on your elbow. And bring both arms down. Pick up the arms. We will take the right hand to the left ear. Imagine you have something really heavy in your left arm. And you don't have to pull on the head and neck a lot. More about letting the weight and gravity work for you. Slowly bring it back. And left hand to the right ear. Bringing it back. I'm just going to turn around so you see better. Interlace the hands behind the head and using your thumb to massage along the neck. And then just tap the front and back. Shake out all the things you've learned today. And trust your body that it will remember next time you try. Feel free also to take an extra moment or so to stretch out your body. And thank you very much for joining the session today.